Hi, I'm Christina,
And I'm Matt.
and this is New Wayz Podcast. So I'm going to let you take this because you said it so beautifully sitting in my front room today. What did you say?
Oh, we were talking about our mission statement
Yeah,
for
mission
this.
statement.
And
They sound so cringy
they do.
all the time.
They do.
I'm just like, that is what we want to talk about.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to tell you is what we're talking about here is pretty much we wrote the synchronicity of mind, body, and spirit, which to me that literally just means is like, yeah, we're going to talk about how everything's intertwined in a way. Like I'm very spiritual. I'm a nurse and a life coach. Like just how what like your mind impacts your body as well as like what you believe in too. Yeah.
Truly. And big thing talking about like life-changing habits.
Oh, definitely.
And also, encouraging, that positive well-being that we, discuss and talk about so much. And, as a therapist and a behaviorist, one of the biggest things is being able to, support, those individualities of, those mindsets within people and kind of help them sort of, progress forward in healthy ways that they hadn't done previously. So I think it's such a beautiful thing to be able to like come together and discuss on. And, that's one of our biggest things for this podcast is just, finding ways to discuss all of these, sort of modalities and, spiritual, practices and healthy ways of living, and moving forward, and finding, new values and also, sort of, like really contesting the old ones.
Yeah.
And, moving, in that, path that you see best fit. So,
yeah, our goal here is pretty much when we were discussing on why we want to do it and stuff like that is we just want to help people. I can't tell you how many times we were having discussions or conversations where like, this needs to be said. Somebody probably needs to hear this. We needed to hear it in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, so that's what we just hope you get out of this is we promise to give you genuinely who we are and we have the best intentions and we hope you get something out of this.
Truly.
Yes. So on that note too, we're going to run through some questions just so you guys can get to know us a little bit better and we can feel more connected and once again, just like know our intentions and who we are.
Yeah.
So the first one we have here is why did you want to start this podcast, Matt?
Oh, good question. Yeah. So I would say that we wanted to start this podcast mainly because like we talked before in our mission statement, we just really found a way to be able to like sort of help each other in a way and discuss all of these, new things. And you and I have very similar, but also very different backgrounds at the same time.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I think that was such a beautiful synchronicity. There we go. We're English, and finding those things that, made us us. And so I remember that, the first time that we really considered the idea was we were at my boyfriend's house, Sam, and we were sitting in his hot tub, the three of us. And I remember I had talked about something in mental health related that like was going on with, I think a past, it was a past story of, something that had happened previously.
We talked about so many things. I probably couldn't pin it, but yeah, it was probably something where I'm just like, yo, been there, done that.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's tackle this thing head on right now. Like, let's go. What's your opinion? This is my opinion. Like, how can we learn and grow from it?
Truly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what had happened. And I remember like sitting down and just telling you the story of what had happened. And that
is it, I think the conversation actually in the hot tub was us about like limiting beliefs. And this is so crazy. It's kind of coming back to me. This is crazy that this was the conversation, but it was about like you wanting to grow and become like more abundant and surrounding yourself with people that are going to make you do that. And me and Sam were both kind of talking about too, how us like jumping into something new and choosing the right people to be around and situations to put ourselves in and believing in kind of the unbelievable has brought us to such great things in life.
Yeah.
And then me and you went back on that, like comparing like what we've been through in our lives. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that that's where I was, I remember us now that you say that.
We were talking about growth, and
You're
now we're
right.
starting to build.
It's like, here we are
Yeah.
building a podcast on growth. But that's really where it sort of that mindset for me, like, oh, this is something that's really amazing. Like I don't get
Yeah.
a lot of people in my life who can sort of talk to me on that wavelength. Especially just because it's just hard to find people who want to create that sort of, that same mentality.
Mhm.
And so when you had sort of discussed sort of like finding ways to like push forward and move forward and find new things, it was just really exciting. And I remember talking about I think if I remember correctly, it was also like almost like a fear aspect that I talked a little bit about, in regards to like what I'm like, well, like, wow, it's great to always push forward, recognizing that's not always a reality for some people too. And I just remember you had mentioning a comment of like kind of on the lines of like, oh, fuck it. Like you can still go and do it. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's like it matters, but it doesn't. Like you can still go out and achieve the things you want to do and still recognize that like you can do it within boundaries, and stuff. And even push those boundaries and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I guess you can, and
Yeah, like your past doesn't define you.
exactly,
Mm-mm.
and so, and then I remember Sam sitting there and he was like, you guys should start a podcast on this.
Oh, I remember him saying that. And I automatically was like, huh? Because you know me, I've been wanting to do a podcast forever.
Yeah.
I love to talk about this kind of stuff. Like it's just naturally ingrained in me to have these conversations with strangers I meet on the street, my close friends or whatever. And it's just like I've been through the ringer and I've found so many different tools and modalities and like people and books that have helped me so much. So I just love talking about it and sharing it with people and love finding somebody who can actually like once again reciprocate the energy. That's why when Sam said that, I was like, it sparked something.
Yeah.
And then we were talking. I'll let you go ahead and say it because you love this part, I know. But we were talking after dinner. Now we do weekly dinners too. Isn't that cute? But continue.
Yes, we do. And I remember us sitting down in that kitchen, and you and I, we were literally just doing dishes. And I just remember talking to you about everything that was just mental health. Like I just remember discussing about like traumas and being stuck and feelings of like isolation, and you just like going off on these incredible tangents about finding these like healthy ways to sort of deal with all of this while challenging old beliefs and old
I'm always
values and
that
things.
who's going to challenge you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I'm, as a therapist, I see it a very, sort of like such a different perspective, because my modality is often in treating it from a clinical perspective. But when you see it from like a life coaching perspective, how different it is than compared to seeing it from like a clinical standpoint. And so I think it was just really cool to see that contrast and development. I was like, wow, this works. And I was like, you know what, do you want to try this? And you're like, yeah, sure. And then I remember just showing up,
Yeah.
to your house.
I remember I said, I'm like, where we were pretty new, like getting to know each other then. And the conversation was obviously gold. It was great. But yeah, I remember just being like, before we jumped the gun and all this, because there's been other people I've tried to do this with, and it was just not, I'm like, come over, let's vibe, let's see.
Yeah. And
we sat on my couch, and so it was supposed to be maybe like an hour. We sat on my couch for like 4 hours just talking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was literally one of like the best 4 hours. And I felt like I like found my best friend through it because of you. And it was so fun. And so, with that kind of in mind, I wanted to know, when you first met me, what was kind of your original kind of thought when you first met me?
Oh my gosh. That's a hard one. Lots of thoughts, but like I can start with like the story of how I met you, obviously.
Yeah.
So, because the thing is like you've definitely grown on me, and like you will even say it, and nothing like you'll say you're a shy person.
I am.
Right?
Yeah.
So I remember before I even met you, of course, like I was friends with Sam. That's how we met. And Sam's like, I met this guy. He's super cute, but like also like kind of nerdy. Like we'll definitely have to work on his wardrobe a little bit. But I'm like, okay.
And now
Sam.
he wears all my clothes back.
I know, now you guys trade clothes actually. So it's hilarious. But so I just remember walking in, we were about to go on a night out, and I'm definitely like all dolled up. I remember I had like my red lipstick on. I walk in, plop my butt down in Sam's chair because I'm very much at home at his place. And you're just like sitting on the couch, like at the couch, his bed, and like just very quiet and like calm and collected. But what I really appreciated about you then was that in the Uber ride throughout the night and at the party that we went to, like you were just so genuinely yourself. You didn't actually try. Out here in LA, I feel like a lot of people have these personas and they want to be bigger than they actually are. It's one thing to be a big person, but it's another thing to like pretend you're a big person just because you think that's what people want to see. And you were just genuinely yourself though. Like you weren't trying to impress anybody, or like you were just trying to get to know my friend.
Yeah.
And I really respected that. Also on that note too, like some of the moments that I actually found out I liked you a lot were moments you weren't even in the room. So like you
Okay,
weren't even there.
all right. I kind of know about that one. How
It's
so?
like, it's mostly because like you made Sam feel so secure in the beginning of your relationship that it was just, you guys have had one of the most just calm and most healthy progressing relationships I've ever seen. I know in the beginning it can be very stressful and just uneasy when you don't know, like there's not usually good communication right off the bat. A lot of times you don't know how that other person feels or where the relationship is going. You never left a moment for him to feel insecure. And all the times you were just very vocal and open and you communicated, and he'd share that with me. And I just really respected that. Like that meant the world to me because I hate seeing a friend go like through that like fringy first part of a relationship where they're like, oh, should I text them? I don't know how they feel. Like, no, you didn't. He was not like that at all. And I love that. And also too, I remember me and Sam were on a hike talking about a mutual friend, and we were definitely just like screwing around a little bit, but energy was high, emotions were flowing, and I like to consider myself a level-headed person, and I come from a very like reflective point of view and always try to be inclusive of like how the other person's feeling. But me and Sam were just beyond ourselves of what to do. Like I was being a little irrational in the moment too, because we were like, what? So he calls you and I'm like, yeah, sure, call Matt, let's see what he has to say. Like, okay, we're gonna figure this out on our own, we don't need him. You gave some of the most sound advice that actually when he hung up the phone, I was like dumbfounded. I was like, what did he just say? Like, huh? And we actually applied it and it was so nice. And I just want to say I really respect that you didn't bring yourself down to our like chaotic level. You said it exactly how you wanted to say it. And it was just from a very logical standpoint. And I don't get those types of responses from people in situations a lot. Most of the time I do enjoy hearing other people's advice, but yours was set one I was like actually thrown off by. So that's when I realized like what a gem you kind of were. And in that sense too, like from there on out, it's only been like free flowing conversation and growth and like love and support. So you're just fabulous.
No,
Come on, we know
you.
this.
Oh, thank you so much.
I mean, I know how I can kind of be, but like, what's your perspective, I guess, on when you met me?
Yeah, when I first met you was really that day that you had also said yourself when we went to that party, and I remember you walking in and you just being this like huge ball of energy and light in ways I was like, oh my God, like it was just something that I had not quite seen in someone in honestly a very long time. Mm-hmm. And it was so refreshing. And it was so beautiful to see. And it was something that was so different because, I myself wasn't probably in like the greatest place, and I knew I really was just kind of like just coming out of like a really not so great job, and it was difficult, it was difficult trying to, at this point I was trying to start a company, which, was sort of creating success, but also wasn't really doing amazing. So I was just like trying to figure it all out. And, and to really like sit down with you and you were just like, hi, I'm Christina. And I was like, hi, I'm Matt. Like, it's just,
yeah, I don't
like,
tone myself down. I didn't.
Yeah, no. And I love that. And I think that was such a beautiful thing about you. And then, to then turn around and then when we went out, that night and stuff and the things that you talked about and wanting to do, and you were constantly this like goal achiever. And I think that oftentimes people will, especially here in LA, we get a lot of people who, say they want to achieve all these things, but, they talk the talk, but they don't really walk that walk. But really to see you talk about the things that you wanted to do, and then you were physically finding ways to go about creating it was just like, whoa, like that was amazing. In regards to, I know your life coaching and then, traveling to Bali and then doing all these incredible trips and like finding ways to find yourself and using all of these like new and like kind of new fun ways of sort of creating individuality and health within yourself was like, okay, you're a breath of fresh air. This is fun. And you've been an absolute light ever since. And I'm just so lucky to now have you as a friend and someone to, you know, talk to about all these things, and someone now to, you know, start this incredible podcast with. It's just been, yeah, it's just been an absolute blast. So thank you for that.
No, I like, oh, that makes me so happy, because it's just on like, not to toot my own horn, but it is like so true. Is like, I just pride myself off of being like a positive person. And I've realized throughout the years that like, life's not meant to be boring. I don't have to just like continuously do the same thing. Like, let's go explore, let's have fun. And if I can make somebody see the bright side of a situation or life and give them a little bit more life, like that's what I want to do. So I really thank you. I'm happy that that's the perception you got of me, and I'm just so grateful for that. On that note too, is like, once again, back to what I kind of said, was like, I was very intrigued with your response to like our conversations and the advice you were giving. So how about you tell everybody too, what's your background? Like, how are you just so insightful and deep and wonderful?
Oh, I don't know about deep and wonderful, but thank you. No, so I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and then, you know, I also on top of that, you know, decided to get my master's in psychotherapy. So I have a master's degree from Northwestern in clinical counseling and therapy. And, you know, after I graduated there, I, you know, took a little bit of time off, about 4 or 5 months, to kind of figure out what I wanted to do, and ended up working in a residential center in Malibu. And, you know, from that residential center, I learned so much about, you know, human connection and people, trauma and addiction, and all of these, kind of all these, you know, like sort of, I don't want to call them evils in a way, but there was just so many things that I learned about sort of like all these people in a way. And it's just so fascinating when you sit. It's interesting to sit on a one-on-one in a clinical experience like this, where you're just sitting with one person in therapy room at a time. But it's one thing to do that, but it's another thing to sit with a group of 5 or 6 people who are all going through the same thing on different levels. And it's like, it's usually just one massive shared experience with everything in between. So that was one of the biggest learning curves of my life as a therapist. And, you know, I did that job for about 6 months and decided that, you know, I wanted to, you know, keep working with kids and keep, you know, building upon that, but I did not want to do it in the setting that I was doing it, because it's hard, you know, and it can definitely burn you out. You know, as we know, the healthcare system is not meant to be kind, you know, to its employees, you know, and so
a lot of
right
to its employees, to honestly,
to everyone, right, everything, right,
yeah.
And
for your medical bills, not okay. Continue.
Truly, no, yeah, but it's so true. And so I was like, you know, the only way I know that I'm going to be able to keep doing this, you know, and you know, keep doing the work that I wanted to do in this industry and take it as far as I wanted to go, I needed to start my own thing. And so I ended up being able to start my own behavioral health company called Cognitive Edge, which really focuses on working with kids and teens and even young adults who are really just really struggling sort of with, you know, the inner workings of just everyday life. And doing a lot of, you know, I do a lot of education with parents as well on just behaviorism, and recognizing that, you know, kids can, you know, be difficult, and kids can be hard, but also
be difficult,
but also parents can be difficult and parents can be hard. So kids, I beyond understand where, you know, especially my teenagers, I know exactly where you're coming from, you know, and so, you know, it's kind of coming from those different perspectives, you know, and being able, so I have the opportunity now, I go into people's homes, you know, and, you know, I talk to them about, you know, what their days were like, you know, what's going on, you know, that you're seeing, you know, where are you struggling, you know, where are things getting better, you know, is school hard? Why is school hard? What are we doing here? You know, and being able to see that in-house live in the moment is one of the most incredible things I've ever been able to do. And so I absolutely love the work that I am able to do now. And I love keep I love the ability to keep growing into that. So,
I love that.
yeah. And, so I know that, I shared obviously a lot about myself as well, but, and, as far as like credentialing and everything as well, for you, you have a very fascinating group of credentials.
I do.
Yeah.
It's definitely fascinating. Even though, like, after hearing about your work with kids, I'm like, my biggest credential is my childhood and everything I overcame. No, that's a little dramatic. But so to start off, I guess I have my BSN, which is a bachelor's in science of nursing. Speaking of trauma, my first job ever as a fresh new baby nurse, super innocent with surgical trauma, ICU in the middle of Chicago. Yeah, I was not that bright and bushy tail for that long. Forever grateful for it, but it was an experience, definitely. Talk about like with nursing and like anything in the medical field. Like you really see mind, body, and spirit all come into one, and I'm forever grateful for it. From there, I started travel nursing. I've worked in many different states. From there, you have to be flexible too. So I worked in so many different specialties. I am blessed with that because it's really opened my eyes to how different patient populations, like different social groups, different like ethnicities, different like hospital systems even really affect somebody's health. So we'll get into that a little bit. Also, something that's amazing but kind of like nail biting at the same time was I worked for FEMA during COVID. So they had us living in a hotel. I was in downtown Dallas at the time, and I was working 72-hour work weeks on COVID units. So for 6 days, 12-hour shifts a week, I did that for 3 months. Don't ask me how. Towards the end, I was an utter zombie, but it was probably an adrenaline rush. So I did that for 3 months, 72-hour work weeks, and COVID units. There you saw a lot, definitely. And once again, with nursing, I am so forever blessed that I've chosen this path in a way because it just helps me on my mission to help people and being able to expand my horizon in different states and once again like different patient populations and people. Like, man, I deal with ICU, you deal with life and death on a daily basis pretty much. So I really get to see like how different things affect people's health and like their outlook and stuff, which is amazing. But from there, I'm dual certified. I'm life and health coach certified. I tend to end more towards the life coaching, but I do have some health coaching clients. And the reason why I chose to do that is because I was really just passionate about getting to people before they ended up in my hospital bed, before they were like clinically depressed. Once again, I'm a believer that like you can be happy and healthy. And unfortunately, I just feel like so many people in this world are misinformed and uneducated, not because their own fault. Sometimes these things just aren't readily available, or like you think the government makes it like obvious that things are healthy for you, but they don't. So that's just one of my goals, is to like really inform people and show them the bright side of how to advocate for themselves and just be the happiest, healthiest version of themselves. And then also too, like I said earlier on that note, like my biggest like credential, if you want to say, I feel like, is just the shit that I've been through. Like you've heard a little bit about my past. Like I've definitely have not had the easiest in quotations, like childhood growing up, like some traumatic events. Like I stayed in a super long relationship, and you're going to hear some of the stories and just be like, what? And I've found ways to bring myself out of the gutter and be this like happy person that's in front of you today. But it wasn't easy. I can't tell you how many times I just like wish there was one magic book that, or like podcast that I could listen to that would help me, So like I've read all the books, I've done all the different tools, I like done yoga, meditation, like I said, the books, like, and essentially went through one heartbreak after another to make myself whole again.
Yeah.
So that's why that's my credentials, I guess.
No, that's beautifully said. Yeah.
So I'm super excited for this podcast and where it goes. And on that note too, like I said, my biggest learning experiences have been my experiences in life, right? So is there anything that really set the tone for you on like this journey that you're on? Like what was one life-changing moment?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was, at the end of the day, I learned to just say fuck it and just move forward. And I think that even though it kind of seems a little brash and hard, it really was sort of the foundation for being able to do anything and since I've been, since 21. I really, I had also previously been in not great relationships where I was actually living in Chicago as well, and yeah, I don't know where I should.
No, I do.
And and Chicago is a very near dear place to my heart as well for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But I just knew that I was like, I knew if I wanted to grow as a person, it wasn't going to be there. And so, just saying, fuck it, and just coming out to California and trying something new and with new people and a new place and a new identity and everything was really sort of something that I had always wanted to achieve for myself. And, been able to, also kind of go with the flow when it doesn't quite go that way. And you're like, okay, sounds good. We'll just figure it out and we'll just move forward.
It's a great way to look at things. I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. I tell people all the time, like, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm breathing.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm good. Like, we're here. We're on this beautiful earth. Like, okay.
Absolutely.
That sucked. Whatever. We move on. We learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and so that being said, I know that we've obviously talked a lot about how, sort of the different tones can often impact our life and our life choices. So what were some of the things that sort of set that tone for your life and changing like your life perspective and choices?
So I'll start with the one where you said where it's just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I firmly believe, or like for a lesser like drastic term, I guess you can say, like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I've really just adapted, and like, what can I change now? So there's been plenty of times where like I've been that person just broken, laying in bed, like laying on the floor, and been like, what am I gonna do, regardless if it's broken or it's just I feel lost at the time. I'm just like, what the fuck? And like, you actually kind of know when you just take that space for yourself and just listen to yourself, regardless of what everybody else is telling you, or like regardless what seems logical, is listening to yourself and your intuition. That's been the most life-changing thing for me. Is like when I decided to go to nursing school, I was waiting for a boat in Greece with my family. Never had any desire to, nobody in my family is in the medical field. I was just like, this seems like a good idea. And it has been. It's brought me here today. When I like finally had the same 50th fight with like my ex and I was sitting there, nothing new, like the same feeling I felt many times. Finally, I was like, you know what? It's just time to go. Yeah. And like, that's what's brought me here, that screw it. I'm going to go to a state by myself that I don't know anybody. And just, it's brought all this beautiful things to me. So I really think harnessing my intuition was one of them. Yeah. Second one was realizing that like you have the capability to do things. And my interest for psych got sparked when I was like 7 years old, alone in my bedroom, and I felt like nobody loved me and I had no friends due to like circumstances that were going on in my life. I took things, I said, screw it then, I guess, at the age of 7. And I'm like, I'm going to pull up my laptop and Google how to make friends. And like, that was a pivotal moment in my life, because it's like at the age of 7, I learned about confidence. Yeah. Just from like the internet. It was Cosmopolitan magazine. I'm sure there meant confidence in many other ways, but I took it as like, be who you are and just go out there and show people and try. And like at the age of 7 years old is what like sparked my interest in like human interaction and like psychology and stuff like that. So I had to throw that out because I remember that. And I was like, what? It's just stuck with me to that day. I'm like, it's clear as day, the vision in my head. So yeah, I mean, definitely things that you said I can relate on. And on that note too, we're not going to annoy you guys too long with interests about ourselves, I guess. But one thing I've grown to love, and I feel like this would be a beautiful way for us to kind of end this podcast, would be, do you have a quote you like?
Oh, yeah, no, I would say, I mean, I have many quotes that I live by and I share often with clients, or just even clients or, people share with me all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I love that. I would say one of my ultimate favorite quotes actually comes from Christopher Robin, from Winnie the Pooh. And he says to Pooh, he goes, "You are braver than you believe, you're stronger than you seem, and you are smarter than you think." And I think that quote sits so well, and with all the things that we talk about, in our everyday lives. But it's something that's really helped me sort of fuel my own imagination and my own growth. And I recognize that in those moments, I am, braver than I believe. I'm strong. I got this. I know I'm gonna be okay. And I am smart. I was
You are smart,
right?
You're very smart.
Thank you.
Yes.
But I don't mean that it's sort of like a narcissistic or
No, not at all.
crazy, or like, but I know that like I really struggled with school, like education wise. I was someone that never was in any, advanced classes, or I was, in majority of remedial classes where I was like an, C, B student.
I had a speech impediment, and now I'm here talking to you,
right?
Like on recording. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's just like, at the end of the day, I chose to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to let my past moments sort of define me. And I am braver than I believe. And I'm stronger than I seem. But even more importantly, I am smarter actually than I think I am. And I know I can make myself do things that I know I could do previously. Yeah. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing to be able to sort of, digress and to look at. And it's something I often share with my kids, because I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, no matter what, you got this. You are going to be okay. As long as you're going to be true to you, that to me is all that matters. So.
No, I love that. That is so true. Like the one thing that you do have in life that nobody can take it away from you is who you are.
Yeah.
So you better like who you are. You know what I mean? Like, I love that so much. So thank you for sharing. I guess my quote that I kind of want to end with, and I have so many great ones, like so many inspiring ones, so many heartfelt ones. But for some reason, this is the one. I think it's because I heard it when I really needed to hear it. It was kind of when I started taking drastic leaps of faith. Did I say that? Faith? Drastic leap of faith. There we go.
Drastic leaps of faith.
Faith, whatever. So when I heard this, it stuck with me. And I was like, damn, probably because I knew I was holding myself back, like intentionally almost. So my quote is, what's more scary? The thing that you're scared of right now, or waking up one day and realizing you wasted your potential? When I heard that, it was when I was like at a standstill in my life. And I was like, do I just keep doing the stuff that I know, or do I just like, once again, kind of say fuck it? And to this day, that is my biggest fear, is waking up one day and realizing that like I did waste my potential. Like I don't want to stay still. The world is my oyster. And I think some people just really need to hear that sometimes. It's like, if you're not moving and progressing to your dreams, what are you kind of doing?
Yeah.
Like if you're not happy where you're at, make that change. That thing that you're scared of oftentimes, like it's not as scary as it seems. And when you start doing the thing, like it's not scary anymore at all. You just start
safer than you believe.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. No. So that was that's just something that really stuck with me. Just one thing I want to kind of end on too, just to make this my hippy dippy me self, is like a quote that's now grown on me over the years, is that love conquers all. I literally had a hard time telling my own family members I loved them, let alone like relationships or friends. People would say it to me. I'd be like, that's an intense thing to say. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Your love, huh? But now it's just like, I say it to everybody and myself all the time. I literally have a tattoo that says I love you now. And I think that's really something that we're going to talk about, but that's just, I needed to say that. I needed to end on like a note of love right now, because that's just who I am. So.
No, and I love it. And that's exactly what we're here for, is to be able to bring that positivity and light. And we're going to talk about some things that are going to be sort of, in a way, sort of the opposite, but recognize that we have those moments where that light and positivity does shine through. And it is the thing that, at the end of the day, makes us who we are. So I love that so much. It's just being able to, push forward in healthy and meaningful ways.
I mean, that's why we're like, once again, that's why we're starting this, is because like I want to see people walk in the light instead of hiding in the shadows all the time.
Yes.
Like you are here to be genuinely yourself for a freaking reason. So let's harness that and let's go.
Yeah.
I love all of you for listening.
Yeah.
And just being here, and hopefully you want to grow with us. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, well, thank you so much, for
thank you.
Yeah, for sharing.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you all. So, as we end, should I say, you're amazing, and I don't know, I need to work on that ending there.
No, I mean, let's do it. I just really hope that please stick around, grow with us, watch us grow, and I hope you guys can grow as well. So, love you all.
All right, thank you. Yep.